and gentlemen, and welcome to the Waitress Academy wine course. This is lesson 4, and this is the most beautiful and the most important lesson from the wine course because we are talking specifically about type of grapes, wines, characteristics, and we will discuss the 49 most important grapes in the world. Once you learn how to describe those grapes to your guest with authority, with ease, that's what's going to give you the confidence to talk freely with your guests, to suggest wine, to sell wines. That's what's going to give you the special relationship with your guests. Because people, once they sit in the restaurant, they want to see a waiter or waitress with confidence. Someone who knows what he's talking about, someone who knows what he's doing. Coming up, green salad with French dressing.
Thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about the 49 most important wines in the world. First of all, I want to let you know, guys, that it's very important to be able to discuss those type of wines, those type of grapes with your guests, because you might not be working right now in a top restaurant and might not be selling much wine, but your goal in your career should be working in a better restaurant and hitting those fine dining or Michelin star restaurants where guests are buying a bottle of wine that costs $10,000 and they are drinking it, with the dinner. So in order to get those jobs, of course, you have to be able to talk about wine. You have to be able to sell wine to your guests. And this is how you do it. I give you the 49 most important wines in the world. You see those cards here, like Cabernet Sauvignon. We're going to talk about the characteristics. So once you hit the floor and once you see a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon, you will be able to say at least the minimum to impress your guests, to create this special relationship with them, to tell them, to show them that you know what are you talking about and what you're doing. Now, when you're holding a bottle of wine in your hands, you should know that there are like 3 types of bottles of wine. One is just a bottle of one grape. Could be Merlot, could be Cabernet Sauvignon, could be any type of wine, chardonnay or whatever. And the whole bottle is produced of only one grape. The other type is varietal wine. Now, this is mix of different grapes, but one is dominant. So you have like 75 or 85% of this grape inside, and then the rest of the percentage, 15 or 25 or whatever, is different grapes mixed with the dominant grape, and that's how they produce many beautiful wines. For example, like in Tuscany, Chianti is produced in this type. They use Sangiovese as a dominant grape and then mix it with some other grapes to produce the best Chianti they could possibly produce. And then, of course, you have the blend. This is when there is no dominant grape, pretty much everything is blended. There's some small percentage of this grape, bigger percentage of this grape, bigger percentage of another grape. So, for example, the Bordeaux Blend, I hope that everybody knows already the Bordeaux Blend is Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot. They're all mixed together. It's not like Cabernet is 80% and everything else is like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They're pretty evenly spread, and that's how you produce the blended wines. Now, guys, one of the most important grapes in the world, of course, is a Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm pretty sure that if you are working in a restaurant, you have already seen a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon, you probably open a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon, probably tested also a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon. And this here, what you see on this card, is the general characteristics of Cabernet Sauvignon. So when you are selling a Cabernet Sauvignon or you're testing Cabernet Sauvignon, this is what you should be looking at. The body, it should be full body. The tannin, high on tannin. Acidity, not so much acidity. Alcohol is always good. The Cabernet Sauvignon is 14% alcohol per volume. And no sweetness, all right? If you have a Cabernet Sauvignon that a little bit of sweet notes inside, that's you cannot say that this is a good Cabernet Sauvignon. And of course, now if you're selling Cabernet Sauvignon that is light body, then something is wrong, okay? And maybe you should not be selling this wine to your guest. And that's how you discuss, with your guest. Once you serve, for example, Cabernet Sauvignon and you let the guest test it, you can ask them, do you feel the full body? Do you feel the tannin filling up your mouth and all those kind of things that usually Cabernet Sauvignon has? So, most popular wine in the world, the origin is cross between Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc, but that doesn't really matter a lot to you. It's a red wine, really rich on tannin, a perfect wine for heavy meats and perfect wine for aging. So if I drink Cabernet Sauvignon, I usually want to be aged in a wood barrels for a year, 2 years, maybe even more. That what gives the Cabernet Sauvignon even more body, and of course some other flavors that makes the wine really special. Now, when you're testing the wine, you're smelling it, you're testing it. These are the flavors that you should be looking when you're testing Cabernet Sauvignon. Blackcurrant, black cherry, cedar, spices a little bit. So it's important that you know what are you looking for once you're testing Cabernet Sauvignon, all right? And of course, it's important for you to explain to your guests, to look for the blackcurrant, to look for the black cherry, and that's how you impress those guests. Now, decanting, it's recommended that is decanted. Now, that doesn't mean that in a restaurant you have a chance to decant every bottle of wine of Cabernet Sauvignon for 60 plus minutes, not chance. But this is a recommendation. There are many times in my restaurant when the guests come earlier, they choose their wine and they ask me to open the bottle and decant it like 2 hours before they come to eat. So by the time they come to eat, this bottle has already taken the luft, the air, sorry about using some German words, and now they can really enjoy the full blend of the body, the bouquet, everything that the wine can offer. But of course, this is not always the case. It's good that you know that Cabernet Sauvignon, we suggest that we decant the wine, even if it's just decanted on the table, it stays 5 minutes in the decanter, it's still better than just drinking it from the bottle. But pay attention, not every guest wants to get their wine decanted, even if it's suggested. So you just have this in your mind and you can suggest to the guest, but it's up to the guests to decide what they want to do. Of course, Cabernet Sauvignon is a French grape, but nowadays it's the most popular wine, as I said, and it's spread all over the world. They produce great Cabernets in the United States, Australia, Chile, and many, many other countries. You will find amazing Cabernet Sauvignon. And this is your card for Cabernet. Memorize that, talk about it. You can print those cards and you can keep it in your pocket, and every single day just take a look at some of them and just keep learning so you can be really good with explaining the characteristics of the different wines. Pinot Noir is probably the next most popular wine in the world. one of the top wines in French regions, of course in Burgundy. And Pinot Noir, you have to remember, it's really hard wine to produce, you know. When it's a good year, they are producing some amazing Pinot Noir. When it's a bad year, those wines, they still cost a lot of money, but they are really not drinkable. And so when you're selling Pinot Noir, you have to really pay attention to those which year, you know, the wine, the grape was harvested. And of course, you have to remember Pinot Noir, it could be very light, very easy drinking fruity wine, but when it's aged, it could be full body, really filling your mouth with fruit, with barrique. It's amazing aged wine. So there are two different, completely different types of Pinot Noir. One that is fresh, light body, fruity, and the other one that is being aged. Also top wine in the world. So just pay attention if the wine was aged or not when you're selling to your guest. All right. Now in those cards, I give you a perfect pairing for every wine. So when you are going to the restaurant and the gentleman or the lady asks you what should I order with my dinner, and you know that she order, for example, you know, pork with mushroom cream sauce, or steak with a mushroom cream sauce, you know, you can offer them immediately some aged Pinot Noir, you know, when they're eating some red meat with a mushroom cream sauce, because Pinot Noir usually, as you see here, has a high acidity that pairs very well with creamy, rich sauces. And when it's aged, it has some more tannin, has some more body, and pairs very well with the red meat. So that's how you do it. But if it's if she order, for example, chicken or a duck or something that's very light meat, then you can offer her Pinot Noir that is very fresh, very young, and then it's so light and fruity that's gonna pair very good with this. So there are different types of Pinot Noir. You have to pay attention if it's aged or it's fresh, young wine, and then of course you can pair it with a different food. Flavors, you know, learn those flavors, guys. You have cherry, you have raspberry, you have vanilla. It's good that you can tell your guest, you know, what to expect from the wine that they order. That of course takes time and testing, because like I said, every bottle of Pinot Noir is going to be different depending on the year, depending on the production, if it was aged or not, and so on, so on, so on. So now here's the glasses that we recommend when you're selling and when you are serving those wines. Once a guest order Pinot Noir, of course, offer them a large Burgundy glass. You know, the large Burgundy glass we discussed in the previous lessons, that's what collects the aroma. And the Pinot Noir is a wine that's known for its aromas. So, first of all, when you're offering them the Burgundy glass, that will impress the guests. They will understand that you know what you're doing, what you're talking. And that's, they will see that you actually are trying to take care of them and give them the best experience in your restaurant. Hey guys, that's what makes our money, okay? And as is known, Pinot Noir is French grape, but they're producing some amazing Pinot Noirs in other countries, and but mostly, dominantly in France. Now, we are suggesting decanting for 30 minutes, mostly for the wines, Pinot Noir that are being aged. The fresh one don't need much decanting, but you can always suggest to the guests that they get some that they get decanting, because the wine will take some fresh air and will show its real flavors better. The next most popular wine is Merlot. Now, I love Merlot because it's a very well balanced wine. First of all, I don't like wines that have any sweet in it, really, and so this is perfect here with a Merlot. And then not too much acidity. All right, but it has the body, it has the tannin, and has the alcohol. All right, Merlot is the perfect uh, grape to mix with Cabernet Sauvignon. All right, this produces one of the most beautiful wines in the world. But you have to also know that Merlot is one of the produces one of the top, not one but maybe two of the top and most expensive wines in the world, because um, if you know the super Tuscanan wines, uh, Masseto is 100% Merlot. All right, Masseto is 100% Merlot, one of the most expensive wine, one of the most beautiful wines in the world. And of course, everybody knows Petrus, and Petrus is 92% Merlot, so that's also um, really one of the most expensive and one of the top wines in the world. The flavors, you have black cherries, you have plums, you have chocolate, dried herbs. Merlot can produce some amazing flavors, especially when you're aging it for a few months or a year or two. I mean, you can produce some amazing Merlot wines. And so, perfect wine to suggest to your guest. And you have to remember also, because Merlot could be also very young and fresh, and then not so much body, not so much tannin, and you can drink it with some not so heavy meats or something that's not meat at all. But at the same time, if you age it, you can drink it with ribs, you can drink it with steaks, you can drink it with anything, heavy sauces, and it's gonna pair perfectly with this kind of food. Now, Merlot is produced everywhere. It's a French grape, but Italy, Spain, United States, Bulgaria, Romania, everywhere you can find a great Merlots because it's easy wine to produce. Now, Cabernet Franc is mostly known for its use in the Bordeaux Blend, but Cabernet Franc by itself is a great because it have amazing flavors. Once you drink and test Cabernet Franc, you really can feel the strawberry, raspberry, bell pepper, chili pepper. You can feel those flavors in your mouth. It's amazing. And of course, it gotta be a good Merlot, a good Cabernet Franc. High acidity, just like Pinot Noir, but when it's balanced, then it produces some amazing wines. And also you have here like what it's paired well in in the countries that are producing the best Cabernet Francs in the world. Now, one of my favorite wines is the Bordeaux Blend. Many of you know probably the Super Toscana wines, some of them are using completely just the Bordeaux Blend. Those are Italian wines, but they're using the Bordeaux Blend for many years now. Marchese started this many years ago, and although he was laughed at the beginning, he started and kept producing Bordeaux Blend wines, and now they're one of the most important and most famous wines in the world. But of course, the top wines with the Bordeaux Blend are produced in Bordeaux in France. And the Bordeaux Blend, as already mentioned, is the Cabernet Sauvignon Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot. Maybe without the Petit Verdot, maybe without the Cabernet Franc, they are doing different things, but this is the 4 grapes that they are using usually in the Bordeaux Blend. Now, you have really full body wine, heavy tannin wines, not much acidity, but alcohol. It's recommended. I do not like to drink Bordeaux Blend wine under 14% alcohol. If it's under 40% alcohol, that will show me that this year or this particular wine is not as good as it should be. Look for those wine to be 14% per volume alcohol, and that would tell me that this wine is worth trying. All right. Always offer Bordeaux glass for the Bordeaux Blend wine. Those Bordeaux glasses are with long walls. That's what helps, you know, tame the tannin inside. That what helps to make the wine shows its real colors, real taste, the full bouquet and so on. So of course you can see here it's a full body, heavy tannin, and of course you can eat and drink this wine with some steaks, with some really heavy red dishes, meat with creamy sauces or whatever. But this is one of the most beautiful wines in the world, and everybody should know about it and everybody should test it. All right, now we're going to some not so popular wines, but also very important, and especially when you're working in a high-end restaurant like a French service restaurant, you will get to know those kind of wines. Gamay, that's a French wine, French grape, mostly produced in France. We also suggest a Bordeaux glass. You have, you know, blackberries, you have pomegranate flavors. This is the wine that produces Beaujolais. All right, so this is the grape that produces Beaujolais, and Beaujolais, this is the young French wine that is, you should drink this right away after it's done. It's very fruity, it's very fresh, very, you know, beautiful wine if you like something that's very light body, a lot of florals inside, a lot of fruit, and it, you know, you have to drink once in your life Beaujolais, and maybe you're not gonna love it. Like me, I prefer really heavy wines. I don't like the fresh young wines that's very light and very fruity. But Beaujolais is amazing wine, and you can enjoy it if you like those type of wines. Now grenache, as you see, this is here very low body, low tannin, low acidity, full of alcohol, not sweet whatsoever. This is the main variety in the two most famous wines in, you know, Chateauneuf du Pape. And everybody who has been to Burgundy knows the Chateauneuf du Pape and Rhone and the Rhone blend. Okay, together with Shiraz and Mourvedre, that's the Rhone blend. You know, you have to remember, I already told you, in France the harvest is very important, because I have tested some amazing Chateauneuf du Pape and I have tested some terrible Chateauneuf du Pape. They all cost a lot of money, all right, but because the year was really bad, the wine turned out to be really bad. Okay, so when you are trying to sell those type of wines, especially this part of France, from the Burgundy part, you have to really pay attention to the year on the bottle, and really know which year is good and which year is not so good. All right, Malbec is also a French grape, but right now the most beautiful and the most popular Malbecs are coming from Argentina. This is the main grape variety in Argentina. You can drink some crazy, amazing Malbecs from Argentina. Of course, you can drink some beautiful Malbec in France, but pretty much this is the two countries that produces Malbec. You have full body, high alcohol again, not so much acidity, not so much tannin, and you can really enjoy this wine with pretty much everything, you know, from lean meat to red meats and heavy cheese sauces. It depends if it's aged or not. Also, a wine that could be aged for many years and turns into some really full body, amazing wine. And of course, you can drink it also fresh and not so much heavy as when it's aged. Now, Shiraz, everybody knows that Shiraz is the wine with really full body, and heavy wines that right now mostly produced in Australia. Of course, French also, and you can find them somewhere else in Argentina, South Africa, also Spain. But Shiraz is a full body wine. You have tannin, you have acidity, you have alcohol. When it's well balanced, you can drink some amazing Shiraz. And of course, the flavors, blueberry, plum, chocolate, tobacco, great flavors in the Shiraz grape. So you can really find some amazing Shiraz. And because, it's produced in Australia, it's perfect for lamb dishes. So when you have a guest in your restaurant that order a lamb and they're asking for suggestion of the wine, I mean, immediately in your mind, it's got to click Shiraz. Just offer Shiraz for the lamb meat, and they will love it. Now we move to the Italian grapes. Sangiovese, of course, the most important grape in Italy. Mostly that's produced in Tuscany, but you can find Sangiovese pretty much everywhere else. Chianti, of course, is the first type of wine that comes on your mind when you're talking about Sangiovese. But also Brunello. A lot of people love to drink Brunello de Montalcino or Banfi, and also Sangiovese is used for some of the Super Toscana wines like Tinanello and many other beautiful wines. Now, Sangiovese is high acidity. You have to remember that. That's very good tannin levels and full body wines. Alcohol also, I will never suggest to a guest to drink a Sangiovese wine that's less than 14% alcohol. I don't think this is a good idea. And then, of course, aged. Sangiovese, when it's aged, is really, really turns into a great wine. When it's young, then maybe some people will love it, but then you have the acidity a little bit overwhelming, and maybe not so many people will like that. But when it's aged, then it's much better balanced, and the acidity is not so, you don't feel the acidity so much. So then I think it's a better wine when it's aged. Yeah, you can have it with pasta, but you can also have it when it's aged with any kind of steak, any kind of meat, any kind of sauce. Pairs perfectly with those kind of things. Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo produces one of the most, or the two of the most beautiful wines in the world. This is a Barolo and Barbaresco. Those are two small villages in Italy, and they are using 100% Nebbiolo to produce their top wines, Barolo and Barbaresco. Those are wines that they need to be aged for at least 4 years, because Nebbiolo is famous with the high tannin and acidity, and if you cannot just drink it when it's young wine, there is no chance. It's gonna be terrible taste. But when it's aged, then the tannin and the acidity just blend well with everything else, with the flavors of it gets some more body, and then it turns into one of the most beautiful wines in the world. There are some year like Barbaresco 2006. I can honestly say that was one of the most amazing wines ever in the world that I have ever tasted. So that is really special. But you have to understand that a lot of wineries, in Barolo and Barbaresco are producing those Barolos and Barbarescos, and not every one of them is doing a great job. Sometimes you can have a bottle of Barbarolo in your restaurant that's really too much tannin or too much acidity, and the guest won't like it. Okay, so you have to know when you're suggesting or you're selling Barolo or Barbaresco to warn that, about the levels of tannin and acidity in those wines, because not everybody likes those heavy tannin and those heavy acidity wine. Now, Barbera is another very old grape in Italy, very popular wine. There is a saying that people are drinking Barbera while they are waiting for the Barolo and Barbaresco to age. But nowadays there are some beautiful Barbera d'Alba or Barbera d'Asti wines in Italy, and you can find some amazing taste, and you can enjoy Barbera also with pretty much anything. It depends if it was aged or not. You have the flavors. It's mostly Italy. Some parts of USA also use this wine, but it's 99% Italy that you're gonna drink Barbera d'Alba, or Barbera d'Alba is 100% of course, because it's only in d'Alba, but Barbera wine. Let's go to Montepulciano. This is a grape. Now you don't confuse the Montepulciano with the grape with the town, because Montepulciano, this is the grape we are talking, and this is the the East Coast in Italy. This is the Abruzzo region. This is very heavy tannin acidity wine, usually full body, very well when it's aged. And you have the flavors here like a red plum, blackberry. That's very good flavors in some Montepulciano. Pay attention, just like the Nebbiolo, sometimes the wine is not so well balanced, and then you have too much tannin, too much acidity. The guests don't like that. I have drank some amazing Montepulciano, and I have drunk some really overboard acidity and tannin Montepulciano that's really not good. The Valpolicella blend, the Valpolicella blend is a very, very special blend, guys, because you can have Valpolicella wines like Valpolicella Classico, that's very, very light and fruity, and then you can have also the Amarone del Valpolicella, okay? And this is really one of the heaviest full body alcohol, full alcohol wines that you can ever drink. And so the Valpolicella blend produces different types of wine, the Corvina, Corvinone, Molinara, Rondinella. Those are the grapes that are used to blend for the Valpolicella blend. The difference between, for example, the Valpolicella Classico and the Amarone de Valpolicella is that for the Amarone, the producers, the wineries, they are drying the grapes, partially dried, 6 months, so there is not so much water in the grapes anymore. And when they crush them, you have high level of alcohol, high level of tannin, high level of acidity, and sweetness also. So Amarone is a completely different wine from the Valpolicella Classico, although they are both produced with the Valpolicella blend. So you have to really pay attention. Do not sell Amarone del Valpolicella when the guests are asking for Valpolicella blend and they are having in their mind just the Classico, Valpolicella Classico, which is very light, very fruity wine, very pleasant wine for ladies that like something that's very easy drinking, okay? Nero d'Avola is one Sicilian wine, not so popular in the past, but now they're making ground and they have produced some very good Nero d'Avola. It's still very risky wine to sell. It's aged very well. If I am going to sell Nero d'Avola, I would try to sell a aged wine, because I think then the balance is better when the Nero d'Avola is aged. If it's not, it's too wild for me. You can have some crazy tannin, you have some too much acidity, and not always the wine those Nero Daula you will try to sell to your guests will be something that they enjoy. We're going to Spanish red wines, and Tempranillo, of course, is the top wine in Spain. You know, even Rioja and Ribera del Duero, they are producing mostly Tempranillo. Tempranillo is amazing wine. I always tell my guests that if they choose Tempranillo, they will never make a mistake. Tempranillo is also one of the wines that you can age and you can sell young, and it's just amazing because it's so well balanced. As you see here on the card, you know, the body, the tannin, the acidity, the alcohol, everything is like the same in its balance, and it's so easy to balance the wine. So not so many Tempranillos you will find that are not good. Okay, they might not be absolutely amazing wines, but they will do the job for a dinner. So that's why I say always that you choosing Tempranillo, you can never make a mistake. You have some amazing good flavors, and especially when it's balanced, then it's just really well amazing bouquet. You have the cherry, you have the dried fig, you know, cheddar, tobacco, dill, just a normal glass. We suggest that this is decanted, of course, especially when it's aged. Mostly in Spain, of course, there's some Tempranillo in Portugal, but if I'm going to drink Tempranillo, that's going to be either Rioja or Ribera del Duero from Spain, and that's it. Carignan is also one Spanish wine, not so popular, but nowadays they're also just like the Nero Daula, they're starting to really produce some very good wines. You can test some of those, and I have tested some amazing Carignan wines, and especially when they're aged in wood, then it's really well balanced and beautiful wines. Now, Austrian wines, we chose the Zweigelt because this is the most popular wine, red wine in Austria. And what I can say is a very fruity wine, all right? Zweigelt, when it's young and it's not aged, is very light body, not much tannin, very fruity, and a lot of people enjoy those kind of wines. Zweigelt also could be aged very well, and then you can produce some really heavy, full body wines that are pairing well with steaks, with anything that's heavy red meat. But mostly Zweigelt is consumed fresh, young, and it's a light, easy drinking, fruity wine. Blau Frankish is a very specific wine. I don't really like to drink Blau Frankish. There is something in the wine that doesn't click well with me. Maybe it's the spiciness, but yes, a very popular wine in Austria, and it's usually like a medium wine. You have medium bodies, medium everything, and but I cannot say that it's a very easy drinking wine because yeah, there is something in the flavors that doesn't click well with me especially. Now, Madeira, everybody knows Madeira wines. Those are crazy, you know, very sweet, full body, a lot of acidity, a lot of alcohol in the Madeira wines. Everybody knows Madeira, you know, and everybody knows that they are using the Madeira wines for sauces. You know, they are producing some amazing sauces paired up with steaks, with anything, vegetables, and this is the only wine from from Portugal that we are talking about. United States, we are talking only zinfandel, but of course in the United States you can find any wine. They are producing Cabernet Merlot, Cabernet Franc, any wine that it's produced in the world, you can find it in the United States. They are doing a great job, but you know, the zinfandel, this is typical wine in the United States, although it's not the grape that was created in the United States. It was imported in there. But right now, if you see wine from Zinfandel, that's 99% is going to be United States wine. So that's why we are listing it here. Not much to say about it. Now we're going to the white grapes. And the white grapes, of course, the first one is the champagne. I hope that everybody has enjoyed a glass of champagne in their life. Now, champagne is sparkling wine. Sparkling wines don't have much body. White wines don't have tannin. It's high on acidity because it's made from Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Petit Meunier. And of course, there are champagnes that are only Blanc du Blanc, that are made only from the Chardonnay. And that's what Blanc du Blanc means. When you see it on the label that's Chardonnay is Blanc du Blanc, that means it's made only from white grapes, and that's Chardonnay. So champagne could be made, like Pinot Noir is a red wine, Petit Meunier also, but it could be made only from Chardonnay as well. And I will tell you that I really enjoy Blanc du Blanc, Chardonnay. I think those are really the best Chardonnays that I tested. Anyway, everybody knows what the champagne I tested. Everybody knows champagne. Everybody knows that that's very expensive wine. You have to handle that with care. Make sure that you watch the videos how to open a bottle of champagne, and you get really well skilled with that, because it's important. And the next wine is Chardonnay itself, okay? Because Chardonnay is the most popular white grape in the world. And Chardonnay, just like many red wines we discussed till now, you see here low body, but you can have aged Chardonnays so full bodies that you cannot imagine. You can smoke a cigar with those Chardonnay, and eat a steak with those Chardonnays when they're really aged and made to the specific. So the general characteristics are those, but you can have different Chardonnays. Chardonnay is famous that you can produce absolutely completely different styles of Chardonnay, and drink it with a different food. So what I will point at is that Chablis, a lot of people don't know that Chablis is actually 100% Chardonnay, all right? And when you're drinking Chablis, you can expect really exactly this, what you're having here. No body, no tannin, high acidity, but very fresh, very full. It fills your mouth with the flavors, acidity. This is not the acidity that will kill your flavors in your food and in your senses. This is really nice, full with flavors, all those flavors: apple, pineapple, vanilla, acidity. And Chablis wines are amazing. They do not sell aged Chablis. That's terrible. Like they're young wines, okay? And I've seen some wineries trying to be original, and some aged Chablis. That's terrible. People who drink Chablis, they expect exactly that: very fresh, fruity, easy drinking wines. Of course, anytime you serve Chardonnay, you can suggest your guests a Burgundy glass, because Chardonnay is a Burgundy grape, and to collect those flavors and really enjoy the wine, you need a Burgundy glass. Suggest it to your guest, especially if they order some expensive Chardonnay. Sauvignon Blanc. Now, Sauvignon Blanc, guys, is of course one of the most famous wines in the world. You produce Sauvignon Blanc everywhere. America, New Zealand, the lately those New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs have been rewarded with the top wine in the world. But of course also the French Sauvignon Blanc, especially those from Polyfumé or Sancerre. Those are great wines. And you have to remember, Sauvignon Blanc is high on acidity, so there are some years and some wines that the acidity actually is so high and it's not so well balanced with everything else in the wine that they are not so pleasant to drink, okay? And there are some guests that don't like so high acidity in their wine, and that's why you always have to clear that with your guests before you're trying to suggest a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. But like I said, Sauvignon Blanc produces some of the most beautiful, light body, easy drinking wines, fresh, fruity, amazing. So anybody that wants to drink something like that, you can always suggest a nice Sauvignon Blanc from Sancerre, Polyfumé, or New Zealand, like Marlborough country. They are producing some crazy, beautiful Sauvignon Blancs in New Zealand. Pinot Grigio, Italian grape. You will see it like a Pinot Gris or Pinot Grigio, depends on if it's a French production or Italian production. Also famous for very fruity flavors and very light and easy drinking wine with comparatively high acidity. Mostly if I drink Pinot Grigio, I will want to drink Pinot Grigio from Italy, not somewhere else, but you can find some nice Pinot Grigios somewhere else also. Pinot Blanc, very tough wine to produce. I have some amazing Pinot Blancs. I have tested some amazing Pinot Blancs, and I have tested some really terrible Pinot Blanc. So not so popular wine, but still one of the main white wines in the world. Riesling, you have Germany, Austria, United States also. Those you have to understand these arrows here, that Riesling is amazing grape that is producing some of the most beautiful, light, fruity, easy drinking wines, and it's producing some crazy full body dessert wines, a lot of sugar, a lot of alcohol, a lot of body. And also Riesling could be aged for more than 20 years, and then it produces some really full body wines without much of a sweetness, but full with alcohol, that really are the top wines, white wines in the world. So it's crazy how you can drink Riesling that is just 8% alcohol, sweet, no body, no tannin, high acidity, amazing wine. And then of course you can get a bottle of Riesling that's cost like $300, and it's aged for 20 years, and it's so full body, such amazing flavors, crazy but very good wine. Mostly Germany producing the top Rieslings in the world, but I have drank some amazing Austrian and United States Rieslings as well, so you can have it both ways. Prosecco. Now Prosecco is a sparkling wine, of course. the most popular sparkling wine in Italy. You can always suggest a glass of prosecco for your to your guest as an aperitif. Especially if you're working in an Italian restaurant, I am selling prosecco glasses like crazy because everybody that sits in Italian restaurant should start their dinner with the prosecco, and that's what I tell my guests, and they are agreeing with me. And prosecco is going like crazy off the shelves. You can always sell a nice glass of prosecco to your guests as an aperitif. Trebiano. Now, this is one really amazing white wine in Italy. This is one of my favorite white wines, like Lugano. And of course, they're using this in France to produce the cognac and the armagnac wines. So you can have some really nice white wine Trebbiano, and don't forget that if you're drinking cognac and armagnac, you're also consuming Trebbiano grapes. Gruner Veltliner is an Austrian wine. This is the most popular Austrian white grape. Like 45% of all white grapes in Austria are Gruner Veltliner, and it's just like the Riesling. You can have it very light, very fruity, sweet, and you can have it full body if it's aged in wood barrels. Really top wines from Austria. Muscat. Now, Moscato d'Asti is a famous brand. Moscato d'Asti is a white wine that is a sparkling wine, sweet as well. But also you can have just Muscat Blanc as a normal white wine. It depends of the producer, but mostly is famous for producing those sweet sparkling wines from d'Asti. And Verdejo, that's a Spanish wine. If somebody asks you in the restaurant to drink something fruity, light, easy drinking, then you can always go with Verdejo, because I never met a Verdejo that is not easy drinking, nice, pleasant, fruity wine. All right. Now, Cortese, that's an Italian grape. Cortese is producing one of the most beautiful Italian white wines, Gavi. If you have a chance to drink Gavi di Gavi or Gavi Principessa or all those kind of Gavis, do it. Very fine, very light body, easy drinking, fruity wines from Cortese. Like I said, especially the Gavi. Just if you have a chance to drink Gavi, make sure you use that chance. Now, Sylvaner, that's a Germany, Swiss. Switzerland, they produce a lot of Sylvaner wines. Yeah, very fruity wine. Sometimes the acidity is a little bit too high, so not everybody likes it, but it is what it is. You can have some very fine flavor Sylvaners. Fermentino, that's Italian white wine. You have the general characteristics here, not very popular out of Italy, but still one of the most important white wine. Viognier, this is, guys, also Italian wine. This is the specific of this grape is that produces really full body, really full flavors. When you drink Viognier, you're gonna immediately understand what I mean. Gewürztraminer. Now, Gewürztraminer is, I would tell you the truth, I have drank only a German Gewürztraminer, but as you see here, it's produced pretty much everywhere in the world. Not one of my favorite wines. too much acidity for me in it, and I'm not a big fan of white wines anyway. Franciacorta is the Italian version of champagne, of the French for champagne, okay? Now they are producing Franciacorta, that's a sparkling wine. They are producing it just the way the champagne is produced. You can drink some amazing Franciacorta wines. Not much, of course, it's served in the champagne glass. Usually we are using that for aperitifs, but some people are using it also with their meals. So now Garganega, another Italian wine, not much to tell about it. They are the main grape in Soave. Soave is one of the most famous white Italian in North Italy, and if you're working in an Italian restaurant, you will definitely serve some of those wines. It's good to know the general characteristics, so when you're talking with your guests, you can tell them something more about it. Semillon, that's another French grape, very similar to Chardonnay, not much to tell about that. And this is all, guys, 49 grapes and 49 wines that we discuss in this lesson. Now, I don't expect that you will know everything about those 49. You're not going to be able to discuss all of them, all the characteristics and everything like that. The most important ones that I put, of course, in the first 5 spots for the white and for the red. I expect that you learn that because you will have questions from those wines, those grapes on the test, and I will ask you during the final exam also about some characteristics of those top wines. But it's good that you have those cards in you, and once you hit the floor and you experience one of those grapes or one of those bottles of wine, you can always pull the card, check it out, and make sure that you can tell your guests something about them. All right, and this is all about lesson 4 today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for using the wine course at the Waitress Academy. I hope that you are learning a lot, and I hope that will help you change your life, really start working great jobs, making a lot of money, and enjoying life. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you on lesson 5. Green salad with French dressing.
Thank you very much.